No one's trained these newborns. This is
Sylvie. Hello and welcome to another reading vlog. So this week I decided just to randomly pick books from my TBR because I'm going to do a themed vlog next. So I want to sort of bookmark them with just regular mood reading style vlogs. I don't know why I'm struggling with the words today. I have already read some things, of course, yeah? So let me tell you what I've already read. So I read the book Orbital and I was drawn in absolutely by the cover of this book. So there are two covers and I think they're both equally gorgeous. They're stunning. They're very eye-catching and I had to pick it up. So this one I got on audiobook. I really wish I liked audiobooks more because I would be able to read even more books, but I don't. I'm a visual learner and so reading books, it's effortless. I just absorb the story via osmosis, whereas audiobooks, I have to really put some energy into listening so that I'm not just zoning out. So it's harder for me to read an audiobook and it takes a lot longer than reading a physical book. However, I will go to them if I cannot get my hands on the physical or an ebook from the library. I'll be like, okay, it's available audio and it's not going to take a year to get it. I'll take it. So I did with this one. And this is a short book, but I ended up DNFing it halfway. I know I could have just pushed on, but it was doing nothing for me. There's no plot really, it seems. It's about some astronauts in space who are looking down on the Earth and they're kind of just in awe of life and the universe in general and just sort of their musings about life and the universe in general. And it just was not doing, I didn't care about the characters. The plot wasn't plotting and the writing wasn't beautiful enough to compensate for sort of the nothingness. So decided to DNF that one. And then I picked up The Hunters. So I was intrigued by this book because of the cover. I thought the cover was cool. And this is basically a fantasy Western. So how do I feel about it? I gave it a 3. Despite all of the action, which is like non-stop action, basically you've got a woman and her niece and a whole bunch of like bounty hunters and people come their way looking for them, some wanting to kill them, some wanting to take them to another location. So they have to go on the run and they end up forming an uneasy kind of alliance of convenience with some other characters in their effort to escape the people chasing them. So it's just like one massive chase. Like they catch up, there's a skirmish, there's a battle, they make a break for it, they catch up, and on and on and on it goes. The characters, there was a lot. There are a lot of characters in this, a lot of them. It was pretty full on. It's just, I don't know, I just didn't get into it. I didn't really care for any of the characters besides, what was its name? The White Spear. They are really freaking cool. And I was like, can we get more of the White Spear, please, and understand more of the White Spear's background and who they are and just anything about them whatsoever in general. They were kind of giving, I've forgotten the name of the character, but this character, I don't know which side, from Game of Thrones, but even cooler. So I liked them, but this book employs a trope that I don't like, and there's a character withholding vital information. So they've been lying and their lies have caught up with them, and it's like, well, this could have been avoided if you told the truth and you would have been prepared. And then they continue to withhold information. And it's just like, it grinds my gears. I don't like it. It's like, it's a miscommunication trope that I really just despise. So that was going on in here, like repeatedly. I'm like, can you just please let a bitch know what's going on? Thank you. So yeah, I didn't love it. There's a lot of death, a lot of mayhem and reveals, I guess, obviously. But yeah, it just didn't tickle my funny bone, unfortunately. Like I said, the cover is cool, but this was just lacking some soul, maybe, some depth. So it's a 3-star. It was fine, but could have skipped it. Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised I pushed through, and I don't think there was a payoff for pushing through. So if you read it and you're not enjoying it, don't bother going to the end. You don't need to. So I'm currently reading 2 books. One of them, I feel like I'm just side booming so bad. Like, I apologize for the bulges if they're confronting. So I am currently reading The Tainted Cup, and this is sort of like a fantasy, mystery, thriller, sci-fi. It's got a whole bunch of different genres tagged on it. And what it's giving, it's reminding me a little bit of this book, especially the main older female character who's book is also supposed to like mirror a Sherlock and Holmes shtick. So you've got Sherlock this time as a middle-aged woman who's very quirky, who's very eccentric, who's foul-mouthed. I don't know how I feel about her yet. I could end up liking her, but I could also end up really not liking her. She's towing that line between like obnoxious and interesting. So we'll see where it goes. But there's her and her apprentice sidekick, whatever you want to call him, who they said is bisexual. Haven't seen like that happen yet, but I like them. His name is Din, and he's been enhanced. So some of these people in this world have enhancements, and his enhancement is that he's basically a recording machine. So anything that's said and done in front of him is recorded in his perfect memory. So what's happened is there's been a murder in this rich person's house, and a tree has literally grown out of them, just exploded out of them. And so there's a lot of talk about fungi and parasites and botany in this, which I am enjoying that aspect of it. And they've got to figure out what's going on. There seems to be politics at play and rich people doing dodgy rich people shit. And I'm intrigued. I'm about 60 pages in, and I'm like, this could either be great or I might end up DNFing it. You know, once again, it's towing the line. It's like riding that fence. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, there's potential. I'm like, this could be very intriguing as long as something actually starts to happen besides just investigating. It's a lot of just interrogating at the moment. Because I'm not a big mystery reader, I don't particularly find all of the interrogating interesting, even though obviously through the interrogations they are coming to conclusions. You're like, oh, okay, I see how they did that. That's really cool that they got there from there. But yeah, it's not thrilling enough for me. I need a bit more action. So we'll see how that goes. The other book I'm listening to, and this is called Double Blind, and I laughed at the beginning. It's very heavy on biology. They were talking about the introduction of wolves in Yellowstone Park and how that was successful. Then they tried to introduce them to the Scottish Highlands, and the people there were like, no, we don't want to. And I just thought it was hilarious because it's literally what the storyline of Once There Were Wolves was centered on. And I was like, I know this. I've got some like biological historical facts under my belt now. So that was fun. I had to stop though and actually re-look up the synopsis because this beginning of this book is so heavy on biology and psychology and science that I thought, oh, is this just like someone's like memoir of, you know, advancements and cases and discoveries in human history? No, it's meant to be about a group of friends. And I'm actually going to get the theme because I have not gotten any of this so far from reading it. It's about a group of friends and what it is about love, fear, and courage and interconnections, and how not one of them will emerge unchanged. It's just started to like get into that a little bit. Like we've finally been introduced to, I guess, some of the cast and characters, like all of them, and one of them's gotten a shock diagnosis. But I don't know, like I was more interested in the science facts than the people and their personal problems. So I'm not sure about this one. I might end up DNFing this one. But I will continue on with the Tainted Cup, and I've got to go to the library today. A whole stack of books has just come in, bam, all at once. It's always what happens. It's just a tidal wave of tomes. And then I'm like, how am I going to get through all of these quickly enough to return them on time? But I will. So I'm sort of like, I'm a mood reader, but then I'm forced to read what's come in immediately from books that I've reserved previously. So we'll see what my bounty, what my stash is. I'll come home and I'll show you. Besides that, I'm going to go out for lunch today because it's actually, hello, beautiful girl. It's actually sunny and we're in April now and we're fully in autumn. Like autumn is here. The last vestiges of summer have died. They're gone. There'll be no more days over 30 degrees. So there's a cat there and I must pat the cat. So, but today we're still getting a few of those warm days, you know, a few of those like mid-20s sunny days. And I'm like, I know that they're going to die too. They're on their last legs also. So I'm like, okay, should now get out there, get outside because it's going to be sweaters and scarves and gloves and rain and cold. And you know, you don't like that. And it's harder to leave the house when it's like that. And I know I should probably go and move somewhere that has a warm temperate climate all year round, but I have children and I must stay where they have the opportunities for the jobs and I can help them. So that's where we're at the moment. But yep, off I go and I will see you when I get back. Okay, back from lunch. So I went to 2 cafes. I liked the second one more. It was more my vibe. I felt a lot more comfortable there, and I liked the breadth of the options on the menu. So that one was definitely my favorite. So I went to the library. Let me show you what I got. So we've got a book about tarot magic. Any new tarot book comes in, I'm gonna get it. We've got Shame by Annie Ernaux. So I've heard a lot about this on the interwebs. Then I've got this one called Best Wishes. This is a non-fiction. Next up we have Devil's Breath. I don't know what this is, but there's plants on the cover. It says Devil's Breath and it's new. So grabbed it, snatched it right up. Then we've got this book, it's called Ekhō, and it's a book of poetry. The cover is doing absolutely nothing for me, but hopefully the poetry does. Then we have the Phone Box at the Edge of the World. This is supposed to be a sad book. I think where you get to talk to your deceased loved ones for a very short amount of time, and that's probably going to get me. And then I got some picture books for kiddos. So we've got The Bear Who Had Nothing to Wear. So once again, I only talk about these if I think they're like really amazing. We have Dear Easter Bunny over here, and the Easter Bunny Hop. Obviously, I've gotten these just after Easter, but she likes bunnies anyway. So those were my picks from the library, and I'll catch you guys soon.
Fetch time. Sylvie, go!
Okay, so I've read some more books. Let me tell you what I read. So with Double Blind, I did end up DNFing it. I just wasn't interested in the character stories. I was more interested in the flora and fauna and scientific journal-like excerpts that were in the beginning of the book. So the beginning of the book was right up my alley. The rest of the book was not, and I just wasn't invested. So I did decide to DNF that one. And Tainted Cup. So I did read this through to the end. It did end up being a 3-star for me. I think I need to reassess the books that I'm pushing through and why. This didn't have a payoff. So basically the tone from the beginning is the tone that is throughout the book. So it is just basically interrogations. All they're doing is questioning people and trying to piece together the plot, who the murderers are, what the motives are, based on people's testimonies, I guess. I was right in how I felt this was kind of like Ninth Reign crossed with The Invisible Library. That's the vibe that I'm getting from this book. However, it just wasn't interesting like those former books were. This world has Leviathans in it. We needed more of them. Less chit chat, more sea monsters from the deep, please. Like, I was very fascinated with that aspect. It was barely touched upon. And I just am not a big murder mystery person where most of the book is just questioning people. A body turns up, let's question some more people. Another body turns up, once again, more interviews. I did end up liking the female character. She is abrasive and foul-mouthed. I think a lot of people have an issue with that, but I don't mind cursing whatsoever, and I felt like it was true to her character. And she was interesting. There was some layers revealed. She is just a savant, like Sherlock Holmes, the way that she just comes to realizations. Her assistant did get his gay on in this, but it is PG. You don't even see anybody really kissing. There's no kissing like on page. So it's just alluded to that him and this gentleman hooked up. So it's not a romance book by any stretch of the imagination. I did like his dynamic with Anna. That's the woman's name. I've been referring to her as a woman. That was her name. But there's just, there wasn't much else going on for it. Like the world it's set in, fascinating, but this was really, the focus was just on solving murders, and that's not enough for me. So I won't continue on with this series, but it was a fine read, but I really wanted more monsters in it. Those Leviathans did not get their screen time. And then I picked up some other books just to finish off this vlog with. So we've got Ekhō by Rosalind Orlando. It's a book of poetry. I can't speak to English. And I would call this old Greek gods versus new tech gods. And they've chosen the Greek goddess Ekhō and the new tech god Alexa. This was a strange book. I'm just going to read the blurb so it can tell you what it was trying to do. Ekhō is a poem in 3 parts. Through poetic narrative, this work considers the Ekhō as a social and historical phenomenon. From Ekhō, the nymph of Greek mythology whose voice was stolen by the gods, Through to the advent of the Amazon Echo smart speaker, the Ekhō has been described as a condition of voicelessness, unfulfilled desire, loss, and entrapment. These poems reconsider echoing as a poetic practice and as an orienting device that tunes the world into itself. I didn't really get much from it for me. I see what they're trying to do with the blurb there and the use of Ekhō and Alexa. I could see, but for me, it just didn't hit, you know, I didn't resonate. I just thought it was a bit strange. And yeah, sometimes things connect and things don't. Unfortunately, this didn't connect for me. And then I picked up Shame by Annie Ernaux. So I previously read Woman, and that was sort of her story about her mother. And this one was meant to be about her father. So this is based on an incident that occurred when she was a child. And I'll read you the very pivotal sentence. My father tried to kill my mother one Sunday in June in the early afternoon. So the opening part of this book, quite powerful. She's describing what happened that afternoon, and it's very palpable. And then what I'm gathering is that incident is supposed to be one that sort of is filled with shame, and that incident and that shame pervades the rest of her life. Echoes, and once again, echoes throughout her life. And I don't know. I know that shame was meant to be the overlying emotion throughout this book, but most of the book just felt like her talking about some times in her life, and I didn't see the correlation there. And I also didn't really believe that this one incident pretty much reformed her entire existence afterwards. I do feel like eventually she just kind of, I wouldn't say moved on, but I don't feel like that memory was really coloring every choice she made afterwards and like fully determined the course of her life. I wasn't feeling that. There were some lovely parts in this. Like, she does have sometimes a really lovely way with words. There was a little bit about seasons. The sun was shining on that Sunday. It's just that it is a silent, ritual world where isolated sounds, linked to people's daily routines, punctuate time and the passing of seasons. The angelus bell of the old people's home, summoning its residents to get up or go to bed. The siren of the textile factory, the cars on market day, the barking of dogs, and the dull thud of the spade hitting the earth in spring. So there were lovely bits, but overall I was a bit bored. There was parts that just felt like she was just recounting a memory, and there was no nuance or poeticness about it. So it's just like hearing someone talk about their mundane life in a very unremarkable way. And like, she comes back to her father at the end of the book, but I still didn't really get a sense of their actual relationship, bar this one traumatic event. So I don't know how this is about her father as much as the mother book was about her mother. So I didn't really like it. I've given it, what did I give it? 3 stars. 3 stars is pretty much my go-to now when I don't dislike a book, but I don't really like a book. It's just hovering that median of okayness. So this is an okay book, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did her previous book, but that was Shame. And those were the books that I read this week, and like, wow, it was a midweek. Let me go through them. We had Orbital, which was a DNF, beautiful cover though, gorgeous cover, feast for the eyes. The Tainted Cup, which was a 3. The Hunters, which was a 3. Ekhō, which was not for me. Double Blind, DNF, and Shame, which was a 3. So a very mediocre week this week, but that's, you know, it's okay. Like, it doesn't make me sad. I just wish I had some books to really rave about and recommend to you guys. But, you know, I'm sure the next great one is just around the corner. That's the fantastic thing with books. A new favorite is just waiting to be discovered, and I have yet to find a 5-star in April. So hopefully that's what's coming. But until next time, stay wild, Star Child.